I'm Elena Ward. The morning of my surgery, my husband kissed my forehead and told me he loved me. His lips lingered a second longer than usual, as if that small pause could stand in for everything else he wouldn't give. I held on to it anyway. When you're afraid, you hold on to anything that feels like certainty, even when it isn't. I lay on the gurney outside the operating room, staring at the fluorescent lights overhead. The hallway felt too cold, the gown too thin against my skin. I counted ceiling tiles to keep my thoughts from running too far ahead of me. I asked the nurse if my husband had arrived. She checked, smiled carefully, and said she'd look again. I already knew what she would find. He wasn't there. I had called him 3 times that morning. The first time, he said he was getting ready. The second time, it went to voicemail. The third time, he sounded irritated, like my fear was an inconvenience, and told me to relax, that it was routine, that he'd be there before they took me in. I believed him because I needed to believe someone would show up. My name is Elena. I'm 32, an architect, and I built my firm from nothing. The house I lived in with my husband, I bought it on my own years before I met him. I used to think that meant I was careful, that I knew how to recognize risk before it became damage. His name was Adrian. We met at a dinner that stretched late into the night, the kind where you lose track of time without noticing. He listened in a way that felt rare. He remembered small things, leaned in when I spoke, made it seem like I mattered in a way that felt easy to trust. I told myself that meant something real. I didn't question it. The surgery lasted 4 hours. When I woke up, everything felt distant, like I was coming back from somewhere I hadn't meant to go. A nurse was holding my hand, her voice steady as she told me I was okay. I looked around, expecting to see him. There was only empty space. When I asked about my husband, she hesitated just long enough to tell me the truth. No one had been waiting. He came the next morning. He walked in like nothing had happened, carrying coffee and a paper bag, setting them down beside me like this was just another day. He smiled, squeezed my hand, and said, "See? Everything turned out fine." I looked at him, waiting for something else to follow, for an explanation, an apology, anything that would make sense of the absence. Nothing came. My mother had driven through the night to be there. She was asleep in the chair by the window when he arrived, her body folded into exhaustion. He noticed her, paused for a second, then greeted her politely, like she was an unexpected guest, instead of the person who had done what he didn't. When I was discharged, my mother helped me into the car. Adrian stood nearby, distracted, his attention drifting back to his phone. He drove us home and talked the entire way about his weekend: kayaking, cold water, laughter, a fish his friend caught. His voice was light, untouched by anything I had gone through. I sat there quietly, holding my side, realizing how far away he sounded even sitting inches from me. At home, he helped me onto the couch, handed me water, and disappeared to shower and decompress. My mother sat beside me in silence for a while before asking softly, "How long has it been like this?" I wanted to say it had just started. I wanted to believe that. But the truth didn't come all at once. It came in pieces I had already seen and chosen not to connect. "A while," I said. The signs had been small, easy to excuse, easy to rearrange into something less sharp. I had done that over and over again, until the pattern stopped looking like a pattern and started looking like normal. A few days later, I opened our joint account. We had agreed it would be simple, shared expenses, nothing complicated. What I saw made something in my chest tighten. Transfers I didn't recognize. Small amounts taken regularly, quietly. Easy to miss if you weren't looking closely. They added up. I sat there for a long time, staring at the screen, feeling something shift, but it wasn't clean. It wasn't clarity, not yet. It was the kind of stillness that comes when you stop trying to explain something away. I called my father. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he told me not to touch anything and to give him time. His voice didn't change, didn't rise. It just settled around the problem, like it already knew what to do. 2 days later, a financial investigator came to my home. She moved through everything carefully, asking precise questions, checking details I hadn't thought to question. Then she showed me something else. Credit cards in my name. Balances I didn't recognize. Debt I hadn't created. For a moment, the room felt too quiet. I could hear Adrian in the next room, laughing on a call, his voice smooth, familiar. It didn't match what I was looking at. It didn't match anything anymore. That night, I lay beside him and listened to his breathing. I thought about the hospital, the empty waiting room, my mother driving through the night. I thought about numbers on a screen, about how long I had been adjusting what I saw to fit what I wanted to believe. Part of me still wanted him to turn toward me and say something that would make it all stop. Not because I would believe it, but because I wanted to know that losing me would cost him something. He didn't move. By the end of the week, everything was in motion. Quietly, legally, completely. I told him I was going to stay with a friend to recover somewhere quieter. He didn't question it. If anything, he seemed relieved. But I didn't go to my friend's house. I went to my parents'. On Monday morning, while he was out, I had the locks changed. Every door. Every way back in. I stood in the hallway afterward, holding the new keys, feeling their weight settle into my hand. It didn't feel dramatic. It felt final. When he came home, his key didn't work. He called me, confusion in his voice. I answered. "I know," I said when he asked what was going on. There was a pause, then questions, then the beginning of denial. "I know about the money," I said, "and the accounts. All of it is documented. I've filed for divorce." Silence. "I need you to leave," I added. "You can contact me through my lawyer." I hung up before anything else could be said. The quiet that followed was different from anything I had known before. Not empty, not heavy, just steady. Like something had finally stopped shifting underneath me. The weeks after weren't easy. There were conversations, paperwork, moments where I had to look directly at what I had ignored. But there was also something else, something clearer than before. When it was over, there was no dramatic ending. Just a quiet dinner with the people who had stayed. My mother beside me. My father's steady voice. The kind of presence that doesn't need to announce itself to be felt. Sometimes I think about that hospital hallway. The cold, the waiting, the space where he should have been. I don't see it as the moment I was left anymore. I see it as the moment I stopped pretending I wasn't.